Here are some creative techniques that'll help keep you on the right track toward that promising future. Remember, creativity is the first requirement for self-enterprise. Number 1, think on paper. You can't take a trip to somewhere new without a roadmap. You can't build a house with the plans in your head. You can't build a company with the business plan in your head. You can't seek venture capital with the financials in your head. But here's what you can do. Put it all on paper. Your roadmap, your blueprints, your business plan, your financial projections. When you put it on paper, you can analyze your path, solve your problems, and isolate what works and what doesn't. You can use this for your life as well. If you're faced with a mental roadblock, put it all down on paper. Like we talked about before, when you put a problem on paper, you take the emotion out of it. With the emotion gone, you can look at the roadblock objectively. You can figure out what you did right, and you can figure out what you did wrong. You can figure out how to change it. So here's what you do. Pick a problem out of your head and pull out a piece of paper, then draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, jot down the problem. Just what is the problem? Write it out. We've got so much going on in our heads that we can't figure things out until we take a piece of it out and put it on paper. What is the problem? This is the problem. State it the best you can. The doctor says, "Oh, you look good. Come and see me in a year." And you say, "No, doc, I'm hurting here." He says, "No, that's negative. Just be positive." No, we've got some negative stuff we need to deal with. So what is the problem? State the problem. Write it down. Now, on the other side of this paper, you put the answers or the solutions. And I've got 3 questions to ask in order to find the answers. And by the way, these 3 questions can be used to solve almost any problem. Here they are. The first question you need to write down is this: what can I do? What can I do? Because you don't want to go any further than that if you can solve it yourself. What can I do? Then what you do is develop working papers. You start jotting down. I could do number 1. I could do number 2. I could do number 3. Here's some alternatives. Then you start analyzing them. Let's see, number 3. No, that one would take too long. I haven't got that much time. Okay, number 2, not sure. Okay, let's look at number 1. Maybe this is my best one, the one I thought of first. Now, if that won't work, here's number 2. What could I read? Maybe there's a book on my problem. Somebody spent a lifetime trying to figure out this problem. Maybe it's written out in concise language somewhere to give you the instant benefit of someone's advice. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Do your homework and find the solution. And then you start developing some working papers on what you're reading. Book number 1, this guy's crazy. Book number 2, this guy's too shallow. Book number 3, this guy's got some interesting things to say about this problem. I'm telling you, if you want to solve a problem, the best questions to ask are, number 1, what could I do? And number 2, what could I read? Don't miss the book that could help. So I'm asking you, don't sell yourself short here. You can find some answers. Now first, try to find them yourself from your own experience. Then second, if you can't find them yourself, now ask, what could I read? Go to the library. Go to the bookstore. Search your own library. Go back through your own journals to find the stuff that's been helpful and valuable to you. And see if maybe you've made some notes that could be helpful in your situation. Now, if that doesn't work, then ask question number 3. And question number 3 is, who could I ask? Now, guess what you're prepared with when you ask somebody to help you? You've got your working papers to show them. You say, you know, I've got my working papers. I've tried my best to figure it out myself, and that finally left me short. Here are some of the books I've read. I've researched this material, and I'm still short. Now could I possibly ask you, and could you possibly help me? You can't believe how willing somebody will be to help you if, first of all, they've gotten the idea that you were willing to help yourself. So if you've got a problem, pull it out of your head and put it down on paper. Then ask yourself, what can I do? And if that doesn't work, ask yourself, what can I read? And if after researching all you can, you still can't come up with the answer, ask yourself, who can I find to help me? I promise you, if you try these ideas and ask these questions, when you've got a problem, you'll be able to solve about anything that gets in your way. The second step to keeping yourself on the right track and being self-enterprising is to develop the ability to brainstorm. Develop the ability to brainstorm. We hear this term all the time, but what is brainstorming? Just what it sounds like, letting your brain go. Being free from all the inhibitions and objections and negatives. Just putting an idea into your brain and letting it take off, free associating. Not planning a train of thought, but thinking freely. Now, if you're planning a creative strategy session with your associates, a brainstorming session, let me give you a little hint. Effective brainstorming can only happen if you're free from your ego. You can't be worried about saying something stupid or silly or something totally off the wall, because your silly thought may trigger someone else's brain to take it one step further. Brainstorming in a group is an experience of collective thought, an experience of developing one idea or several ideas through a variety of thought processes. Here's another hint on brainstorming. It can't be effective unless everyone involved is comfortable with each other. If you don't feel comfortable within the group, you may withhold the very thought that provides the solution to the problem. You may withhold it because you don't want to appear stupid. How do you think all the advertisements you see on TV and in the magazines get created? How do you think some of those crazy campaigns are born? The process happens through hours and hours of creative brainstorming and working papers. Every member of the team jots down notes, and one idea builds on another idea, and another, and pretty soon, a campaign is born out of the collective thoughts of the group. Now, I don't believe that the best decisions are made by committee, but great ideas are often created by committee. That's number 2 to keeping on the track of self-enterprise. Finding answers through brainstorming, whether you're letting your brain go by itself or whether you're part of a group. Brainstorming can often lead you to solutions. Solutions you'd never have thought of if you'd imposed parameters on your thought process. Here's number 3 for creatively keeping on the track of self-enterprise. And it's really an extension of number 2. Number 3 says, imagine outlandish solutions. Get your brain out of the ruts by considering ideas without considering their practicality. Consider ideas without considering how practical they are. You see, if you allow yourself to think without confinement, you may come across a solution that seems totally inappropriate. But guess what else this type of thinking will do? It'll allow you to open up the process, which will eventually lead to totally appropriate solutions. The 4th creative technique for keeping yourself on the right track to self-enterprise is through flowcharts and doodles and formulas. That's right, doodling. The thing you got in trouble for in grade school is actually quite stimulating to the brain, because the way you think while doodling is quite different than the way you think while creating a flowchart or writing a formula. Your doodles may end up looking like some symbol that will trigger your brain to think of an alternative solution. Drawing creative doodles wakes up a different part of your brain. Try creating a flowchart showing the path to success. What does it look like? Is it a straight course? Is it a varied course? Does it have a lot of curves and corners and different angles? Try creating a flowchart to success. It doesn't matter if it ends up being accurate or not. What matters is that it's stimulating the creative thought process. And once you awaken that creative part of you, you'll be amazed at the opportunities that were always there, ones you never saw before. It's all a matter of how you look at life and opportunities. The fifth method of creatively staying on the self-enterprising track is to access the information highway. It's amazing the kind of information that comes across the phone lines these days. With your computer, either your home computer or the one you've got at work, you can go online with hundreds of services. You can access stock quotes. You can access worldwide newspapers. You can do research. You can call up a bulletin board and directly ask questions of other users. You can make new contacts, develop an entirely new network. By taking advantage of the electronic age, you can learn more than you could otherwise learn, meet people that you'd otherwise never meet. You can find information that your library may not have. You can share information and transfer files that you've never before been able to share. Many people are afraid of their computers. They don't take advantage of all their system has to offer. Work with your computer. Find out what types of information and services you can access. Use it as a new resource, a new specialized resource that's yours for the taking. The sixth technique for staying on track: commit yourself to learning. Feed your mind, sharpen your interest in two major subjects, life and people. Learn how you can better interact with others. Learn more on how to get the most from life. Learn all that you can so that you can become all that you can become. Learning is the beginning of a life worth living. Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of happiness. Learning is the beginning of health. Learning is the beginning of spirituality and faith. Learning and searching is where the process of creating your own personal miracle begins. Learning is the beginning of self-enterprise. So there you have the 6 steps in creatively building your self-enterprise traits and ultimately building your ambition.